How do you take a successful service business and turn it into a $100 million tech titan? Mm.
But it didn't work out that way. It was a bloodbath, and it was much worse than people thought. And I realized I had to pivot to government contracting because George Bush was president at the time, and he had this crazy bill to spend, hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars through government contractors. Sure. So a lot of people are saying we've never seen anything like this AI revolution. And I beg to differ. I don't think you have to go back to the industrial revolution. I think you can just go back to the 90s and the dot-com boom or bust. And, I don't know how old your average audience member is, but the macroeconomics of AI are explosive. People are very focused on the micro, what they do, their market, their addressable market. And I say your market size will be thousands of times, not tens or hundreds, thousands of times bigger because of AI. These manufacturers are making airplanes, and then they're selling it to people who aren't pilots. And right now there's no air traffic control system, and there's not enough runways to take off from. I read something really interesting the other day, and that is that CEOs have been fired at alarming rates, and that 80% of all new CEOs are first-time CEOs. Yeah, there's nothing worse than working for a manager who loves their team so much that they love them to death. And what I mean by parents know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
They're trying to protect them by resisting AI, by resisting change. But actually, all you're doing is harming their career. You're keeping them in a position, in a job that's probably not going to exist in a few years, rather than allowing them to move on with their life. And as humans, we won't do things without hunger and necessity most of the time. And, so what you have to realize is your competition are going to adopt AI. They may not all adopt AI, and they may not all adopt it quickly, but a few will. And if you are seen as a lagger, it doesn't matter how good your relationships are, how much they like you, they can't stay with you because AI speeds up delivery. It makes it cheaper. It can do quality control, and it can do so many things that you just can't compete with. So what's going to happen is you're going to lose the contracts. And to your point, Dalton, then you've got no point, then you've got no choice but to lose the people. And all of a sudden, these people are going to be lost and on the job market in the worst time possible when every other person who closed their eyes to the AI. So it's going to be a massive challenge. And if you're working for a company who's not quick enough on this AI train, I would seriously, if I were you, I would be looking for another job, no matter how much I like that company, because I'd be very worried about what's going to happen in the near future. You're going to be dead at some point, and you're not going to think to yourself, I wish I just hung on to that job for a little bit longer or a few more days, or I really like the office space and the coffee was good. You're not going to think about it. You're going to say, I wish I took life by the hands and, or the horns, and just grabbed it and just went with it and just threw caution. So I promise you, I've imagined myself, I know this makes me sound crazy, on my deathbed and thinking, what would I wish? And I do this as an exercise. What would I wish I'd done differently? And it's nearly always, I wish I'd taken more risks. I wish I'd made that investment. I wish I'd done that trip with my family. I wish I'd bought a boat. So every few months, we do simulated ransom attack. And I said to him, what do you mean? I'm a key part of our operating procedures. And they say, well, it's a new company and they've never seen a CEO who's been part of the cyber defense. I said, well, who's going to go on television? I mean, I deal with courts and police stations for some of the biggest cities in Europe and medical for the biggest states in America. Like, someone's got to go and deal with it. I've got to understand. I've got to be part of it. And who's going to make that decision to kill the server? Is it going to be you?